Quick intro before we start, this is going to be a tier list ranking all 52 episodes of Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. The lowest tier is actually C since I don't consider any episodes really bad, but a few are meh episodes, if you know what I mean. Also, spoilers. Now let's get this behemoth of a video started. The Secret Serum. Most will agree that this is the weakest episode, and it stems from one problem. The villain's plan is just plain stupid. This old hag wants to feel younger again, so she decides to steal ingredients to make youth juice. A recipe from a magazine which was made as a prank, so it's not real. And she does all of this dressed up as a vampire. Besides that, the gang has a lot of animosity built up from the previous episode, which gets annoying at times, but they do fix it in the next episode. It's overall just an average one that has a few decent jokes at times.
Oh, Shaggy, like my new bikini?
I don't know. Are you wearing one?
Yes.
Grim Judgment. Definitely the weakest of season 2. All that happens is some lame pilgrim monsters attacking women, and either Gary or Ethan comes to save them. It's obvious from the start that either one of them is a Grim Judgment idiot, but they try to redirect you from that. The gang does some criminal stalking and gets tricked via webcam shenanigans, as the plot doesn't have much going for it besides some moments of Fred bonding with his parents and Velma roasting the hell out of these soccer dweebs.
Booyah! Who wants to judge me now, huh? Who? You want to judge me? You? In your face! Yeah!
Velma, you're scaring me.
It also has Scooby dressing up as Daphne, so do with that as you will. Stand and Deliver. One thing I do like about this one is the uniqueness of the villain. It isn't some monster, but instead a mysterious thief who steals not just money, but women too. And it leads to a weird running gag of sorts where the dandy highwayman keeps stealing these poor losers' wives.
I suppose she doesn't either, but at least we could
Settle
look
down!
together.
Settle down, people! Let's get some control here! We're men, we're tough, we're warriors! We can survive anything!
I do really like Sheriff Stone in this episode because, of course I do, but the ending is what ruins things for me. After catching him, they have this awkward scene of the guys wearing earplugs and Daphne and Velma trying to reach out to them. It definitely takes a few things away from what this episode was going for. Decent plot, but weak conclusion. The Creeping Creatures. The worst part about this episode is how obvious the culprit is. It's pretty clear that the 3 gator people roaming around this nearly abandoned town are the only 3 people who live there. This would have been fine if they joked about it like of other episodes, but they don't. The gang seems surprised that it's them of all people. Besides that, I like the designs of Gatorsburg, and the setup of being stuck there for the night is great. Another thing I need to commend this episode is on the setup. The hint at this place being more important in the future, which happens many years later during the show's run. Also, the fake gator's master plan is to make fake gator skin. Ironic.
Oh, Freddie, a scrapbook! I bet it's filled with wonderful pictures of... traps?
We used this one to catch the Phantom of Vasquez Castle.
Heart of Evil. This is a weird crossover type episode that really doesn't fit the overall story at that point. This literally premiered the episode after the gang completed the planispheric disc, so instead of exploring that, let's have this Batman spoof and his weird dog go on a superhero mission to stop a robot dragon. It's an alright episode that really should have been done earlier in the show, similar to the Mystery Solvers Club State Finals. I do really like the fight scenes and the return of the greatest character of all time, Ultra Instinct Shaggy. He goes hard in this episode and even threatens to beat the shit out of Mr. E.
All right, E. No more Mr. Nice Mystery Inc. Teen.
Okay. All I know is when I bought Quest Industries, there was an asset listed as the Quest X power source, but I was never able to locate it, I swear.
That is awesome, and I wish we got more of that out of this character. The villain's motivation is really heartfelt though. Yeah, I have no idea if he appeared somewhere else, and I don't feel like looking it up. The Song of Mystery. As we go along, I really don't have anything major to criticize for an episode. This one in particular is alright, but the villain's plan is just really weird in retrospect. Quay Horrifico uses a magic flute to transform children of Crystal Cove into monsters so they can chase everybody outside of town to rule it. This is also the episode with Shaggy in the tight pants and the rubber band, where Velma both knowingly and unknowingly hurting him just in case. It's kind of funny, I think. This teacher, Dr. Portilla, is a character I really wish we got more of in the show. He takes himself so seriously and gets turned into a nervous wreck by the end.
Well, at least we know it's not Dr. Portillo.
I am not the weirdo. What to do? Yay for me!
We're gonna catch that thing.
Like, how do you know that?
Night on Haunted Mountain. I've always hated the soundtrack to this episode, it just sounds irritating to listen to. Besides that, the episode has some odd quirks, such as in a town full of ugly people, the castaway face of a soccer ball, and there's one character who appears in one scene and never shows up again. Dark Lilith is probably one of my least favorite villains. She just destroys stuff for no reason and causes millions in damages. Oh, and it's just Hot Dog Water, who hilariously points out that she needed the help of Fred, a man, to get the disc. The boat ride down the mountain was really unique and had potentially be an iconic part of the series, but gets overshadowed by other moments. The Legend of Alice May. There's not even really a mystery here since it's obvious who the villain is, it's in the damn title, but the episode has fun with that premise, especially with Fred. Usually I get mad at a character for being this dumb, but it makes sense. Fred tries to see the best in people and thinks Alice is a good person. Also, the prom stuff leads to some humorous interactions. There's not much to say with this one, it's just a decent average episode that takes its time and isn't overtly serious.
What's going on?
Somebody's mom is trying to kill Fred.
Yeah, thanks, mystery geeks, for wrecking our prom.
Art of Darkness. The monster for this episode is just stupid, and they know it. It's literally just a pile of junk that forms together like Voltron, and wants to kill people. Better yet, it's made by a snob named Randy Warsaw. It's really clever with the mystery, giving out little clues and not making the obvious who the culprit is. They make fun of modern art, these hipster bands, and Germans. The villain, Butch, is just some German guy Randy pulled off the street and made into some skinny jean wearing shit artist. His voice acting really stands out to me. In the credits it just says that both Butch and Randy are voiced by Billy West of all people.
You took everything from me, and I wanted to make you pay. Pay! And I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling polka haters. Oh, and your singing stinks. Nobody understands a word you're saying.
The Grasp of the Gnome. There's some Renaissance fair going on, and a few dimwits are going around dressed as pirates instead. This pisses off one man so much apparently that he goes around dressed as a gnome trying to sting people with jellyfish venom. Amazing, stellar storytelling. Even though I poke fun at these plots, they are ridiculous in a good way, so don't think I'm making fun of this show too much. It's simple and goofy with a decent plot twist. This tall jester is actually a midget, which sure Stone can't get enough of bullying. And the man only did this to frame his wife so he can get all of her money.
The beautiful part is that because of my...
I believe the medical term is baby legs.
No one would have ever suspected me.
Yeah, Shrimpo, we got the picture. Let's go, little footy.
Beware the Beast from Below. This is the first ever episode and it does a decent job. It's more just a setup for the series plot, which also introducing these updated characters for the audience. There's a mystery thrown in, but it doesn't even get to it till halfway through. All it is a toxic mutant robbing banks and scaring people. Oh, and he's made of yogurt dessert. The best part is the gang asking for what he needs the money for before realizing again that he's an underpaid high school teacher.
But you've got a job as a teacher. Why do you need more money?
Oh,
Yeah, my bad.
Really get ripped off.
This episode also has the goal of laying out the groundwork for what the other episodes earlier on had to do, which is hard. Dark Night of the Hunters. This episode was thrown in towards the end of the show, when it was plot heavy and less focused on smaller mysteries, so it was fun to see them do both at the tail end of the series, but it's just some priestess and her plant monster. The thing I have a problem with is that the mayor randomly shows up out of nowhere from the jungle, and she has some military chick with her. It was hilariously unnecessary. Oh, and then this dude's wife came out of nowhere too, so you're telling me that they all hiked several miles through the Yucatan just to scold this one guy? The only real takeaway though is that they find the heart of the jaguar finally.
Hi there. We're looking for Professor Andaluso, so?
Why don't you ask her? Angie Dinkley, the temptress who has stolen my Enrique!
The Siren Song. Pretty much Velma has a blog and gets contacted by a goddamn mermaid to check out an oil platform, because at that platform are some fish freaks who kidnap people. And it has to be the second dumbest plan in the show, almost comparable to the vampire one. These environmental activists want to protest something new, so they decide to go to the oil rig, start drilling for oil there, cause an environmental disaster, and protest that. They want to ruin the ocean so they can get attention. This would ruin the episode if it wasn't pointed out by everyone else how dumb it is.
Yes, You must be willing to kill the environment to save it.
No, I don't think that's right.
Ernesto is mentally challenged, and you can't tell me otherwise. Besides that, Angel is revealed to be Cassidy Williams, which was a really interesting twist they hinted at previously. The Devouring. What can only describe as an obese Satan is devouring all the food in Crystal Cove, and it turns out the demon and Francis Lee have an allergy to healthy food. Does that make any sense to you? Because it doesn't to me. No joke, I googled if that's a thing. I can't find any suggestions. The only noteworthy thing about this episode is the return of Dr. Rex Spartan and Kachinga, the greatest duo alive. They don't have as great of a role they did before, but it's still super fun seeing them interact with Fred and the rest of the gang. Congrats to Rick for handling his wife's absence like a champ though.
We had a farm in Africa, there on the Serengeti. It was unbelievable. We saw things. They have tsetse flies down there the size of eagles. We would stand in front of our hut and watch in horror as these giant flies would pick cows and zebras off the ground and carry them away.
Battle of the Humungonauts. This would definitely be a C-tier episode if not for one thing. Sheriff Stone. He is really funny here, acting as a comic relief and working well with the other characters. This is really the first showcase of how amazing of a character he can be.
Fred. If you weren't my boss's son, I would not hesitate to make you disappear. Forever.
I believe you.
Also, it's weird how much they hint towards the identities of the Humungonauts. As Mr. E points out, there are signs everywhere. To many of them, honestly. Maybe these monsters are the Minner brothers, or maybe it's just this one dude with a beard. Revenge of the Man Crab. A large, ugly creature emerges from the sand to kidnap young girls in bikinis, aka Dan Schneider. Jokes aside, Daphne gets snatched and Fred goes crazy. The crab turns out to be some nerd in a robot suit who wants credit for making a new water. Besides all that, just a decent episode of a cool looking monster and the proper introduction for the Chad known as Skipper Shelton.
What happened to the old sniffer?
What happened? I'll tell ye, boyo. That was a clam that took it. Fierce and mighty was he, and reduced me to wearing facial underwear he did. But I'll find him.
The Hodag of Horror. This is such a crazy episode with a lot going on that somehow works. This Hodag creature is out and about stealing valuables, along with bells, and it seems clear that this curio wagon guy is the one behind it. The episode takes us in a widely different direction into the bizarre, so it turns out this little midget man and his master are behind it, but a double twist, he's a monkey being trained, when the Hellraiser reference was a nice touch.
Who the heck can that be?
Oh, such sights. Weirdo.
This is also the first introduction to Fred's real parents, which they interlock with the main plot. This is because Daphne's parents throw this rich people party, and they get stolen from, of course. By the way, the main goal was to steal a wheel of cheese. In Fear of the Phantom. Just a decently average episode. A weird looking guy is about to assassinate the Hex Girls and must be stopped. Fleck actually try to kill them. Mofo drops some massive speakers on them. The main intrigue is clearly the infighting between Shaggy and Scooby. Shaggy made the wrong move in choosing Boosie over Broship and caused a rift. Scooby makes a new friend, a benevolent god named Harry who saves the day at the end. Sadly, he only appears in this one episode. Fred finally realizes that he is bi for both Daphne and Traps. It's a harrowing story that has clearly inspired other great works.
I'm tired of being afraid. I have feelings, world, for Traps and Daphne. I'm a guy no more. I'm coming, Daphne!
Aliens Among Us. This would have not just been a C-tier episode, but one of the lowest ranking ones for me, if not just for one person, Sheriff Stone of course. His involvement saves this boring premise. Pretty much, aliens are invading, but it's just misunderstandings. But for Stone, he thinks beings are coming up from outer space to abduct him in order to retrieve secret data in his mind.
My brain will keep the plans safe.
What plans?
The plans that will take them back home. The aliens need my brain. They're gonna steal my brain.
Must not be very complicated plans.
Velma is a fucking savage. By the end of it, the main aliens are revealed to be these little Irish leprechauns. That might be a bad joke, but not as bad as their escape plan. They made it like a mile before getting caught, with Fred's gooey surprise. Web of the Dreamweaver. Another episode that mainly works due to Sheriff Stone. Pretty much is revealed that he used to be a part of a D&D-like group during his childhood, and a monster they made is out to get them. There's a lot of dreamlike elements at play, along with obvious references to the film Labyrinth. Stone also pretends to not know these people, which gets a laugh out of me.
Bronson, how can you do this to little old me? We've known each other since we was chillin'.
What? I've never seen your face before in my life.
But it's on the box in your hand.
What box? What hand?
Like it obviously does, but feigns ignorance every time due to embarrassment. The Dreamweaver himself is a cool foe due to his powers and level of intrigue, but the tech used is genuinely some weird metaverse shit, and this Goblin Man is clearly Mark Zuckerberg. The Secret of the Ghost Rig. Just a simple early season 1 episode where a truck is smuggling doorknobs. One is actually a diamond in disguise. This is actually one of the first episodes to introduce the legendary George Avocados, voiced by the talented James Arnold Taylor. He's such a wild card in terms of his role in this series. Also, the final chase scene at the end is really sick and ends in a trap so complicated that it's awesome. The ghost truck ends up flipping right the hell over and into a fucking shark tank. James also voices a few other characters in this episode, like the teenager being pulled over and Rung Ladderton, the winner of the Worst Name Award. This guy has such a wide range. Scare Bear. This is an episode I've grown to love. Oh, and James returns in this episode to not only voice George, but Benson Furman as well. Pretty much, Furman is a Scare Bear, trying to steal company secrets from Destroido. Destroido being the equivalent to Universal Music Group in terms of evilness. I mean, Mr. E literally attempts a terrorist attack in order to kill the gang and take their disc pieces. He plants a bomb at his own festival, only being stopped because the Scare Bear is just as shocked at how horrid this plan is.
I don't think the Scare Bear is gonna disarm this bomb.
Bomb? I didn't set a bomb.
You can talk?
Of course I can talk. Where's this bomb?
Interesting hearing Johnny Test's voice out of a giant mutant bear monster. The Gathering Gloom. The way this episode is set up is kind of off-putting. This is a zombie who is very clearly just a gravedigger, but Velma and Scooby team up to stop him along with the help of Sheriff Stone. His idea, a barbecue, according to him is the best way to attract zombies. And this kind of works somehow because of course it does.
The evil Count Ivalo von Minskrieg would have gotten away with it too. If it wasn't for the sheriff and his American-style barbecue.
You all saw that, right? I caught the right guy, and on purpose.
And the zombie's real plan was to siphon gas from the station nearby, which sounds all too real. He probably looked too much into the recent gas prices and went, screw it, I'm gonna get some of that real shit. Fred, Shaggy, and Daphne just spent the entire episode at this German girl's house, with the latter clearly on cocaine for the entire time. The Wild Brood. I like the direction this episode takes with Fred. He's jealous over these orc dudes since Daphne hangs out with them, and then he realizes, stupidly, that these are just dressed up nerds. Such a good moment.
They're so geeky.
I don't understand. Why dress up like monsters?
We do it to blow off steam.
But the highlight is a train chase scene, where the two gangs must jump onto a moving train and stop it as another man blew up the bridge. It's action-packed and really high stakes for Season 1. It has lots of great character development and takes its time to make the Orc Gang, specifically Obnarb, into likable people, and not just brutes for Fred to clash with. I'm surprised the Wild Brood never made another appearance. They were fun characters we should have seen more of. The Man in the Mirror. This episode contains one of the most elaborate and complicated plans I've ever seen. And not a dumb one, mind you, but a weirdly brilliant one. So to find the planispheric disk, Pericles turns the abandoned movie set into the post-apocalyptic Crystal Cove. He then makes Fred think he has gone to the future, where finding the disk could turn things back to normal. And in the real world, have Fred's dad, who knows little about him mind you, go searching for the disk.
Hey, what do you two think you're doing?
Having a little snack. Duh.
No eating in the van. Eating leads to crumbs. Crumbs lead to germs. Germs lead to sick days from work, secretly crippling the nation's economy.
But the slip-ups would raise suspicions as Fred escapes and goes to the factory. He pretty much fights himself. Classic stuff. It's an episode that really has you question everything going on. Menace of the Manticore. Just about some giant-ass creature flying around an amusement park, maiming tourists. The part I find most hilarious is that Mayor Jones found a scummy website selling a haunted temple, and it comes already made, no assembly required, and a manticore's inside. How did they deliver this? Honestly though, if a Manticore was living here, it would make you want to go to this place even more. Oh, and Hot Dog Water is probably introduced here, who is voiced by Linda Cardellini, the woman who played Velma in the live-action movies. She would surprisingly go on to have a larger role in Season 2.
Meddling kids and their dog will foil your plan.
Yep, that would be it.
Night Terrors. A giant homage to The Shining in nature, it follows a gang staying at a hotel in the middle of a snowstorm, and this jackal monster is following. They each experience some sort of nightmare that converts into the real world. Velma sees a train moving through the library, Daphne is chased by Medusa, Shaggy and Scooby see this demon, and worst of all, Daphne makes out with Shaggy. Oh, and Shaggy bleeds to his Fred, which is a really funny gag I didn't pick up on at first.
It's horrible.
Oh, and all of this is caused by wood. Spooky wood, which I actually googled to see if that was based off of something. It's not, and I'm really dumb. The Jackal guy's motivation was just to leave, which he did get in the end somehow. Night Fright. The title character is definitely the most underrated villain of the show. He's this big muscular demon who is out for blood within Vincent Van Gogh's mansion. But in reality, Night Fright is trying to subtly convince everyone to give him a movie. And yeah, I agree. Warner Brothers, give this man a movie.
I am Night Fright. Scream. Scream. Time for you.
My bedroom. It's our only hope.
For you to die.
I also love Vincent in this. He's supposed to be a horror movie star, yet gets scared by almost everything. But by the end of things, learns to overcome his irrational fears and gains courage. The rest of the gang slowly tags along, but it's mainly this man's own episode. The Dragon's Secret. A white wizard comes to Crystal Cove to search for the Infinity Stones. I mean the 4 Dragon Rings. The 4 Dragon Rings, not the Infinity Stones. And this exchange student wants them too, so they must steal them from each other. Oh, and Chen wants neither of them to collect it, as he protects the ruby the rings unlock. Sounds like a Chinese action film, right? Chen and his persona of the Red Wizard are even voiced by the legend himself, James Wong. You've heard his voice before, just listen.
Welcome! Please, try one of my Szechuan pork ice cream sandwiches on the house. Excuse me.
But this plot surprisingly weaves itself into the show and setting, and they also use jetpacks and lasers, take that as you will. The Horrible Herd. The misdirection towards the middle of the episode is actually kind of smart. You think it's just a normal mystery involving the skull cattle, but no. The gang figures out that Pericles is behind this, and that these are real. Not fake monsters, but biological horrors made to destroy the entire town. It truly shows how evil this parrot is. He's willing to level down a massive town and kill people just to find these disc pieces. It's incredibly dark, like when Mr. E reveals many of his best workers are presumed missing.
And I currently have 28 of my best scientists listed as presumed missing. No! Make that 29.
But because these hybrids are Part B, they figured the only way to stop them is to capture the queen, and lure them out. But didn't they realize they fucked up the ecosystem by doing this? Oh, and Nova enacts a Mufasa and falls to her death. Dead Justice. The premiere Sheriff Stone episode, in which everything is on the line for him. A new sheriff arrives who is dead, and this Dead Justice fellow takes his job, giving him major motivation to figure out who is it. And in desperation, the Scooby Gang and him must team up. Despite his rough macho man demeanor, I love the fact that this full-grown 4-year-old man still loves his mother. A mother who is clearly a badass as she threatens to blow bolts into these teenage intruders. And props to this Night Ranger guy for chilling, chucking clams, and saving everybody. And he doesn't even have to say a word.
Night Ranger, you saved us! Doesn't say much, does he?
He must save it all for his blog. Stupid blog.
Where Walks Aphrodite? A zombie episode of sorts where the goddess of love exacts her revenge on Crystal Cove, and the only ones immune are the animals, Scooby and Pericles. Oh, and Angel too, due to a lack of smell. It gives such a layered perspective on Pericles, who is usually the villain. Here he is more of an anti-hero, until the twist of his experience having been selfish. The town hall scene is also extravagant. Best of all to me is the score. The main instrumental used throughout is just stellar and mesmerizing. I wish more of this show's soundtrack was accessible. The House of the Nightmare Witch. That line pretty much sums up this entire episode. A Russian haggis of Crystal Cove escaping for Fabergé eggs from Putin. This is also the episode that reintroduces hot dog water, who was even added to the intro to replace Daphne, and it surprisingly works. The only thing I don't like about it is a Shaggy fake out. They make it seem like he died and cut to commercial break. Oh wait, he's alive because he only fell like 10 feet. The final chase scene is really entertaining with these badass crossbows and destruction of the house. The witch turned out to be Hagrid all along after getting kicked out of Hogwarts.
Crossbows!
Escape from Mystery Manor. Pretty much a Saw parody where the gang gets locked into a sunken mansion, having to avoid traps. And instead of being fearful like his friends, Fred is eating it up. This all fascinates him, giving him the motivation needed to escape it all. We are also introduced to Danny Darrow, one of the darkest characters in the entire series. He's been locked down here for 7 decades, waiting to exact his revenge on those who want the disc piece.
Not invite him over for dinner.
Don't worry. The only dinner being served tonight will be you. No one outwits Danny Darrow.
You really get to know him here until he is killed off after saving the gang from utter doom. It's also a really well structured plot, taking us to various rooms and letting you explore this massive mansion. Wrath of Krampus. With rewatch, the twist in this episode gives it a whole new meaning. They lead you to believe it's just a standard mystery of this goat man harassing kids, meaning he must be a Minecraft YouTuber. But this was a brilliant setup to steal Pericles' disc piece. The plan is genuinely ingenious, which makes the ending sequence more memorable.
I guess I secretly hoped you guys might not try to steal the pieces from us, but I guess I always knew you would. Which leaves me with only one thing left to say. Real mom, real dad, don't expect me home for dinner. Ever.
That itself makes the episode, but some other things stand out for it. The chase scene in the Haunted Doll Factory is kind of unnerving. It's a location oozing its style and intrigue. Mystery Solvers Club State Finals. This is a fan favorite episode for bringing together multiple older Hanna-Barbera characters. And come on, let's face it, they're all ripoffs of Scooby-Doo in a way, which they satirize. We have Jabberjaw, the Funky Phantom, Speed Buggy, and Captain Caveman. It's like a murder mystery of an obvious culprit, some weirdo with a flaming head. It leads to a boat chase turned into a car chase where these guys murder a bunch of guinea pigs.
The Funky Phantom? That's me, don't you know?
Oh, and at the end it turned out to be a crack dream Scooby had, which obviously makes sense. Dance of the Undead. This is a personal favorite of mine due to one thing, the song. The song played by the surprisingly talented Rude Boy and the Ska-Tastics. They only made the one, as honestly it's the peak of human ingenuity, and holy balls is it catchy.
You dead right, mates. You dead right, mates. The top night, mates. You dead right, mates. Hello, matey.
They played a lot in this episode to the point where it actually never gets old. There's even a Battle of the Bands with the Hex Girls, which reminds me a lot of the regular show episode with the Summertime song. I wouldn't say one is a ripoff of the other though, as they only share one common theme. I'd say this battle's up there with one of the strongest in the series. Pawn of Shadows. Back when I made the original video about Mystery Incorporated, the most common comment I got was how I forgot to include this one episode, and I'm inclined to believe. There's a lot that happens here with Angel revealing herself to the entire gang just after beating the shit out of their assassin. And that assassin was really only there to lure Pericles out, and wow, that is some outfit, as Shaggy points out.
Like, where does she keep getting these weapons? That outfit has no pockets!
H.P. Haycraft is also brought along and is a welcome addition. He acts as a straight man most of the time to this craziness while trying to stay alive. Finally, this is the introduction to the Freak of Crystal Cove as he is seen lurking in the shadows. The Night the Clown Cried. Many don't seem to like this episode, but I have strong reasons for liking it. The episode is meant to feel unsatisfying, as it makes sense for the Scooby Gang to lose after barely getting back together. Also, it gives us more screen time with one of the series' greatest baddies, Crybaby Clown, a Joker-like character voiced by Mark Hamill. He is such a presence that dominates all of the characters who happen to be on screen with him.
You all know me. You know how I earn a living. I'm a bad clown. Stopping me ain't gonna be easy. There's no string in a net or catching me like Monotika Tia or Redbeard's ghost.
Him escaping proves the point that the gang didn't come back together whole, as they need a fifth member. Oh, and Daphne's drooling over this hunk of a man, Baylor Hotner, the most obvious parody in the world. Oh, and not so fun fact, the episode title is in reference to an unreleased 1970s film called The Day the Clown Cried, which is about a Jewish clown being locked up in a Nazi concentration camp. The Night the Clown Cried 2, Tears of Doom. The sequel episode is definitely much better than the original. Now, Crybaby Clown seems to have more of a plan here by committing terrorism. He takes various people hostage, steals a plane, and takes off during a storm with all these victims as prisoners. And apparently the only one to stop him such a massive threat is a bunch of teens and a dog. Anyways, Fred really takes hold here. He goes through so much in these 20 minutes, from fainting due to losing Daphne, to jumping onto a plane as it takes off. His final showdown of Crybaby Clown would also make it onto a list of the show's best scenes. The music, high stakes, and added atmosphere with the thunder is stellar. The Shrieking Madness. Probably one of the funniest episodes in the show's run. Some octopus creature has emerged from the pages of H.P. Haycraft's book and lurks around the college campus. To say the least, it smells like shit because the madman behind it glued an actual octopus to his face. And this man's endgame is to throw H.P. off the top of his house. You know, to his death and all. There's Ernesto, this dude who will protest anything. Harlan Ellison appears, not played by just some random person, mind you. The actual Harlan Ellison came just to voice here. And I must mention one of the greatest adult jokes in Cartoon Network history. Fred is hanging out with these college bros who suggest this.
My new brothers are gonna teach me a move called Happy Tapioca. I don't know what it is, but apparently I'll be blindfolded and submerged in pudding. See you around!
One detail Fred missed is that Happy Tapioca is about being butt-fucked while submerged in pudding, and he almost goes through with it. Theater of Doom. Just an episode where Vincent Van Ghoul must make a play with the Scooby Gang, but his play is cursed or something because a mummy wants to mess things up. And you might think it's a fake mummy, well, kind of, because it was George Avocado's, but in the end it turned out to be a real mummy of Friar Sarah, and he tells a real history of this town. It feels like a creepy campfire story while also doing an amazing job at world building. And then the bomb drops. Sarah tells Scooby that he is meant to die. He even calls back to the second episode.
This has all happened before. It begins with the animal. Always the animal. Heed the warning of the alligators. The dog dies.
So not only is the supernatural real all along, but that things are going to get a lot darker. Howl the Fright Hound. Scooby gets arrested for drug possession. Just kidding, he does get arrested though. And a robot dog wants to kill everybody. It feels like a homage to the first Terminator movie with both ending in a factory. This factory scene has a lot of great action and ends with the robotic count being crushed, burned, and ran over. The culprit was this overprotective mom since her nerdy son wasn't able to bang Velma. Jason is a really funny character though, who clearly thought his mom was messed up in the head. It's a surprisingly violent episode with the dog mauling various animal control officers, but they get some licks in too, shooting at it mercilessly. Gates of Gloom. Being the first part of a 3-part finale, it feels like a big culmination, one where the people of Crystal Cove fight back. There's a really dark moment where Pericles insists they terminate everybody in town, which would have happened if not for a disturbance, that being the mystery machine with blades and shit all over it, which is badass in so many ways. A lot of great moments occurred during the final fight, which ends with Pericles and his crew heading down to find the cursed treasure. It acts as a great setup for the next 2 episodes, which I'll of course be discussing. When the Cicadas Call. If you have insectophobia, this episode is literally going to freak you the fuck out. It's literally about a giant cicada monster who consumes its victims by swarming them with thousands and thousands of smaller cicadas, and while they do survive, these victims will never be mentally sane again. It's really freaky, which I love. Most horror movies can't even seem to pull off things like this. It's a very unique monster. There's also this teacher Daphne kinda has a crush on, which is weird, mainly because it seems like he's a crush on his bugs. Standard stuff. He likes the cicadas too much. The finale to this is pretty great as they defeat this massive monster of a vacuum cleaner, and the culprit was some old lady. The Midnight Zone. I've said this before and I'll say it again. This one really feels like a turning point in the series, where it began to get darker and darker. It has had some dark moments before, but this was a game changer. We focus more on Angel and her character development, as she teams up with the gang to stop a group of Nazi robots from trying to kill her, and in the end, she doesn't survive. She sacrifices herself for everybody else to escape. We don't see her actually die, but her cracked helmet is found underwater. It's a really emotional moment which doesn't pull any punches. Angel even has a sentimental moment of Daphne that is so well written. Props to the writers for this episode.
About regret? You weren't talking about me and Fred. You were talking about you and Mr. E. You loved him once, didn't you?
What E and I had, we lost a long time ago. Don't make the same mistake I did.
Nightmare in Red. I slept on this episode a lot, usually thinking of it more as a B-tier episode, but during a recent rewatch, things changed. I actually appreciated the role this one has, as it takes place right after Pericles stole the Planispheric Disc. So we take a step back at this dream world where the gang must find out what to do next. There, they are chased by the monstrous freak, who has a rad design. We get to really feel what is going on for each character psychologically, and by the end, Fred reconciles with his fake father, seeing him in a better light. Honestly, it's beautiful.
I forgive you. You've always been, and still are, the only real father I've ever known.
Leaping lake lilies, Fred. I am so proud of you. I want you to know that having you as my son was the absolute best part of my life. You were always the best part of me.
It relies a bit too much with the Twin Peaks references, but if you're someone like me who's never seen it, it doesn't stick out as much, and I'll definitely be trying to watch that show soon, so don't complain, you nerds. A Haunting in Crystal Cove. A poltergeist is within the Jones residence and needs to be taken care of. Maybe you should have called the Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters!
But what's weird is that the ghost keeps shooting out sunflower seeds. He is caught with one of the coolest traps, in a scene I also think highly of. It was Pericles, which was smartly done with all the clues. Another great scene takes place in the kitchen, where these damn maniacs make an evil pizza that comes to life.
It's really quiet out there.
The pizza is aggressive.
Oh shit.
Thank you, Seinfeld Spitstain. Anyways, this has a lot of great payoffs, and jokes which still land, like the part where the voodoo lady says she knows what to do here and runs for the hills. Clearly the only thing to do here dealing with such a spirit. Attack of the Headless Horror. I don't know why, but this has always been my favorite episode. Though looking into things, I found a few possible reasons to why I assert this. For one, the new characters. I love Rick, Spartan, and Kachinga. They both work off each other well and are just plain funny. Then there is a monster who has a really creepy yet great design. It's a headless warrior with a face on his chest who curses those in possession of his shrunken head. And Fred in this episode is amazing too. He commits several road crimes just to see his idol. The chase scene in the hospital is another great moment that must be pointed out due to how action-packed it is.
Yikes! We're never gonna make it!
I genuinely feel like I can remember almost every single piece of dialogue from this episode, which is kind of odd, but yeah, it's my personal favorite, but not quite the best overall for the show. Through the Curtain. Half of this episode is just one intense standoff that has a dark conclusion. Hot Dog Water is thrown in as a hostage, to which she helps the gang escape and enters into a standoff herself. This gets her killed, in the series' most messed up scene, and not showing the death on screen makes it work more. Just the sounds of the gunshots and Scooby's expression make it work. The second half of the episode is a journey between the different worlds, based on different elements.
Water. Earth. Fire. Air.
It ends with them at the Fire Kingdom, I mean hell, it's hell, and Satan is the evil entity in the sarcophagus. It ends on a cliffhanger where the bastard Pericles lets it loose upon the world. All fear the freak. And here's the season 1 finale, which finally answers the question, what happened to the original Mr. Incorporated? And the answer to that is this horror, the Freak of Crystal Cove, a being who also wants to find the disc pieces, and wow, is he creepy. They do him justice throughout this one episode.
Get in this car if you want to live.
The gang gets arrested, this time not for drug possession, and sneaks off to the caves to finish things. There, Fred and the Freak confront each other, where it is revealed to be his own father. Or so he thinks, as the second twist is that the married dad is a fake. He kidnapped Fred from his real parents, Brad and Judy. Yeah, definitely something you would expect to happen in a kid's show, right? This was the biggest cliffhanger for me, ever. It took another year for more episodes to come out, which sucked, but at least we had this one to hold us off. Come Undone. Obviously, the best episode is the last one, a finale that perfectly ended the series in a satisfying way. Hell has erupted and everybody is doomed. Pericles takes center stage, as his true greed is shown. Gruesomely, he's consumed by the entity and killed, to which he uses the body to rain hellfire. It does get kinda cheesy with the heart of the Jaguar being the group's friendship, but who cares? It makes sense due to what the show has been about. We even get a thought-provoking ending where the town has come undone. Nobody has ever been affected by the supernatural, and new lives are needed. The ending is left open, which is favorable compared to other shows. It was the best way to end the episode, and a superfluous way to end a great series.